Hey everyone, hope you're doing well. I'm Lucas and welcome back to another F1 23 League Racing video, and today we have WOR Round 7 around Qatar. Yeah, this is actually back-to-back races at Qatar because we had PSGL on the Wednesday at Qatar, and yeah, same track again on the Sunday. So yeah, without further ado, let's get into it. First run of Q1 now. And yeah, obviously with this being the second league race in a week at the same track, you have sort of, I guess, a step forward in evolution that you want to take with, you know, the pace, the strategy, the setup, every area, and you expect the same of yourselves and your rivals as well. So naturally, the expectations were going to be a lot higher this week in this particular race than perhaps on the race that we had on Wednesday, the first Qatar race in PSGL, and yeah, struggling to get the car turned in to turn 1 here on the first run of Q1. Not a fantastic opening run as far, heading into this tricky left-hander that we seem to be allergic something about that stupid corner to get into the apex. It's just somehow not quite getting it. We have a 0.39 split, which is not great. But heading out through the end of the lap, through the high-speed sweepers, chucking it in. Very easy to actually over-rotate the car. Using a good track on the exit. Head into the final corner now, down to 5th gear. Using the road in the exit, and then just that corner and me that are allergic. Keeping it straight as possible to the line. I mean, we don't talk about it. And yeah, crossing the line with a 190. Why am I allergic to that apex? Like seriously, allergic to that apex. So that banker run was actually good enough to put us P3 regardless of the errors. But here on screen now, I am on that exact same set of tyres. I am on used tyres, which had about like 5% wear on them or whatever it was. And we are actually managing to improve on the lap. You saw there, we were half a tenth down. And then we gained 800 on the old tyres. So here we are now, just sending it now. So at the end of this lap, trying to see if we can go faster on the used tyre, and we're 200s up with one more corner to go. Can we make it quicker on the used tyre, just as a bit of fun towards the end of the session? And you can see me just pushing, trying to get to the end of the lap, and we go faster. So there we have it. We managed to actually improve a little bit on that used tyre, which isn't actually a good thing, because if you're improving on used tyres, it means that your first lap probably wasn't good enough. But regardless of that fun, here we are now into Q2 first run, and again, not quite getting the car rotated into turn 1. Something I struggled with more on this in this qualifying than I did in the previous qualifying that we had on the Wednesday. Probably a bit of a trait of certain changes that we made, but then you can see they actually had to get out the throttle, so you're just struggling with understeer with a 2.5 set to 1, so not a great set to 1 to kick our lap off here. And yeah, heading through the hairpin, nicely rotated through there though, getting to the apex, getting back onto full power, so pretty clean start to the second sector to start picking ourselves up from the first part into this infamous left-hander for us. Relatively clean execution. Pretty happy to at least get a clean sector 2. We have a 7.96 split, so yeah, certainly work to do, especially given how much we're leaving in sector 1 through these high-speed sweepers. Once again, so easy to invalidate through this section. Just trying to keep the momentum, minimise the scrub while making the apexes. Nicely rotated through the mid-corner and then out through the exit. DRS open, so I'm allergic to turn 1, man. Yeah, salvaged the lap after a dodgy sector 1, and yeah, managed to do an 8.92, which was yeah, our one and only lap of Q2, as I wanted to save a set of softs just in case of a safety car. But here we are now, the first run of Q3, getting to the apex relatively well this time at least, as the grip starts to rise up, but we completely missed the apex of turn 2, get a bit of mid-corner understeer as well for good measure, so not a great opener to our first run of Q3 now, where it starts to all come in and count. Relatively straightforward through the 3 and 4. Sorry, 4 and 5 technically. A little bit of scrub, over scrubbing in that hairpin, not 100% ideal, but relatively clean and tucked in nicely through the right-hander, flat through here. And how are we going to do through this infamous left-hander? It was clean. nice and clean, no major dramas as we head our way through there. So what's it going to be as we head towards the split? It is a 6-5-9 split, so we've got it all to do as we head through sector 3. Plenty of time to be found, but completely missing that apex, so wasting some distance now through this left-hander, absolutely chucking it in, getting through there relatively cleanly, but probably lost a bit of time in that previous corner, so we've got to make sure we get a good clean last corner, relatively clean, DRS open, and now we race to the line to see what it's going to be, and it's going to be a 749 provisional P1, but it will not stand, as I believe we have Tom Manley that ends up going even quicker. And yeah, work to do on the next run as we head on now for our last attempt. We know we've got time in the lap, and we've just got to absolutely send it and give it everything. Heading into turn 1, getting a beautiful late apex, just getting on the power, and you can see the delta come down, starting to gain a bit of time back, getting nice rotation this time, and crucially, a much better exit, half a tenth up as we head through turn 3, now into the final part of sector 1. These double right-handers chucking it in 6th gear, using the road in the exit, getting the car fed in nicely, and that is us now successfully through sector 1, into the hairpin now, nicely carried in with the speed, and just a smooth release, critical. Now we are 10th up as we head into the thick of sector 2, later apex, but a much nicer exit as we slingshot our way out through this flat out right-hander, peeling it over back to the right hand side. And how do we do it? We absolutely nail this infamous left-hander. A little wiggle on the exit, so maybe bled 100th out, but overall a net gain. And now we are starting to cook as we head through the start of sector 3 now. 5-1-5 split. We know we're on a pretty solid lap at this point. Are we going to bleed away the lap time? Maybe a smidge wide there, but kept it pinned flat. Coming through here again, maybe a smidge wide, but carrying the momentum. The delta keeps going up. One more corner to go, sending it in super late on the brakes, but we get that rotation, and coming out of the last corner up here, 0.17 up, coming to the line, and it is going to be a pretty damn good lap as we cross the line. Damn, man! Oh!
Come on, Bale.
Please be Paul, otherwise that'll be the most embarrassing thing I've ever done in my life. Please don't that be embarrassing. Oh! Please.
Oh, maybe.
Oh.
So annoying.
Jesus, man! Bloody hell! Where did that come from? And there we have it. We slammed it onto pole position with one of the best laps I've actually done in this game in an actual qualifying session. And yeah. Not a bad place to start, but as we saw on Wednesday, it's not it doesn't mean anything, especially around Qatar. So here we are, 5 red lights. We are on the medium tyre, and we get a nice initial launch off of the line. Jarno in P2 on the same strategy as us. We defend to the inside. Jarno goes to the outside, has a little look. He tries to run the outside line, we hold the tight line, we save the distance, we give him a little bit of a pinch, little bit of little blips of ERS, and we hold our position in P1 to kick the race off. Top 2 of us on mediums, the rest on hards. And here we are now heading through sector 1 for the first time. And yeah, just getting used to the balance, getting used to the feel of the car as we head through sector 1 for the first of 29 times in this race. Getting a nice release on the hairpin, and now we can just focus on getting into a nice rhythm. Focus was at this point in the race is just to start getting a rhythm, as we mentioned, but also to keep the ERS as high as possible, as it is insanely hard to regenerate energy around this track. So this race is a game of patience and a game of trying to be in the right place at the right time. In all honesty, you need to be, you know, lucky in the right moments, but you also need to try and create your own luck. So it's a balance. You've just got to do everything you can do to put yourself in the right places, and what will happen will happen. That's kind of how it seemed to work in the previous race, and how we sort of anticipated it to go in this race. So nice clean execution. We are on the medium tyre compared to the hard tyre as last time. We wanted to try something different this race, and Jarno obviously had the same thinking or strategy. As we complete the first of 29 laps here, as Jarno and I start to just work in tandem and get ourselves on a roll. And lap 3 now, DRS is enabled, and such is the power of DRS. You can just see Jarno slingshotting by. We don't want to over defend. Yeah, not a problem for us to give up the position, and now it's our turn to play the chase. And as you can see now, we have kept the batteries high, just looking behind and pulling out of the DRS, out of the slipstream actually. That's to keep the engine cool, because the engine, when you follow round and round and round in the dirty air and all these laps, it actually overheats and you lose power. So we're just managing things. We weren't overdoing anything, but skipping onto lap 11. And yeah, now we're going to make the move as we intend to pit at the end of this lap on lap 12. So we take the lead without using any extra energy. And into turn 1 now, and the balance difference in terms of driving, as you can see, we have to get a big snap of oversteer there. The difference in driving in clean air and dirt air is massive, like you would not believe the difference in driving style that you have. But as we now dive into the box on lap 12 now, into this pit entry, which is actually really fast, a little bit scruffy from us, but you know, it looks cool. That's the main thing, style points. But yeah, Jarno continues on for one more lap, so this is going to be a very, very important lap for us to make sure that we just make the best of this undercut. It will not really probably change much in the grand scheme of things in terms of positions, but it will just be crucial for us to just at least make the best of this this outlap now. So heading now onto the hard tyres towards the end of the pit lane, we have Otis, our junior development driver, who made the undercut as well onto the hard tyres, also starting in the mediums. He has now jumped up directly behind us and was sort of going for the track position approach, trying to see if he could hold on to position by using the slipstream, the DRS train, if you like, by trying to get into track position, but by suffering a little bit more on the tyres by the end of the race. So yeah, a massive mix of strategies at play in this race. Exiting the pit lane now is Jarno onto a 1 lap pressure set of the hard tyre, which yeah, isn't enough to make a huge difference, let's say, in a train, but in open air it is relatively alright to have a tyre advantage by 1 lap, as the tyres go through a lot around a lap of this track. And skipping on now to lap 15, we have Nicholas Longate also boxing on lap 13 with Jarno onto the medium tyre. So he's going to have a good second half, a good first half to the second stint of this race pace wise. So there's multiple things at play here. Skipping on to lap 16, Jarno blasting the ERS, Otis closing up to the back of us to try and gain some distance, but Jarno now slinging it round the outside. He has 2 lap pressure tyres than Otis, so making good use of that now that his tyres are up to temperature and being very opportunistic, but albeit using a lot of energy, as they're actually still side by side, which you can see in the virtual mirror, which is quite handy because I'm one of the few people that actually use the virtual mirror. Mainly because I've used it for so long that I forget it's there now, but I can fully understand why people don't use it, as it is quite glaringly there. But yeah, Jarno and Nico getting the move up into P3 and 4 respectively, as Luke Smith is yet to box, as I believe he was actually going to try and go into the soft tyres, which was a bit more of an aggressive strategy. But yeah, skipping on to lap 19 now. And just unfortunately for us, just with the way it is leading on this game, you're just a sitting duck, and the cars behind regenerated all that energy that they just lost, such as the advantage that you can have by sitting behind. And you can see we don't even want to blast our energy, and now we're going semi-defensive, as Jarno just has a look up the inside, maybe a sign of things to come as we skip on to lap 23 now. And now this is what the problem with leading, as Nico now forcing the overtake by using ERS, and Jarno now forced to go for an overtake. So we're going to hang it round the outside, not really wanting to fight, but we're actually still side by side. So we're now kind of in a battle that we didn't even want to be part of, because the risk of losing the track position at this point was really high. And you see, we can't just back out of this because Nico's right there, so we're forced to go all the way around the outside, but we actually get tagged on the rear end, and then once again going through the end of sector 1. And now this is a problem for us, because we now have to defend onto the marbles, and I can't just exactly run Nico off. He is absolutely there, so we give him as much of a squeeze as we can, but those marbles on the inside making our life very, very difficult. And now we're even in a worse position, because we're fighting when we don't want to fight. We're losing the time to Jarno, and now we're having to back out of it because we've ended up off the track again with the marbles. That's illegal as hell. And yeah, I was absolutely fuming at this point, because now we've lost not just the track position, but the gap as well, and that was a bit of an issue because yeah, it was just being P3 is one thing, but we wasted massive amounts of battery as well, and you can see just sending it through the penultimate corner, trying to keep a close gap. But now onto the back of Nicholas Longate onto lap 23. Nico having a bit of a moment there, DRS open now, and we actually start to gain a little bit under the slipstream, so we decide to burn a bit of ERS. We want to try and see if we can get this position back into P2, so we switch it to the inside, and we send it really late, absolutely a bit too late actually, as we run a bit into Nico, albeit it was a bit weird with the contact model, so it could have sort of just dragged ourselves into the corner. But that was on my bad. That was my fault for that turn 1, but thankfully nothing came of it. But now, as you can see, because of us fighting even more, and we are literally glued to the back of his diffuser, you cannot drive any closer than this. And yeah, we were just trying to give ourselves the best opportunity, but now, because of all of this, Jarno is now 2 seconds up the road with a lap fresher tyres than us, and with probably, I think, about 30% at least more energy than us at this point in the race, which was, for lack of better word, not ideal. Not great for us as we get the position back finally on Nicholas Longate. But here we are now, 1.8 seconds back from Jarno on lap 25, and we have very few laps left to run in this race. As you can hear me say, he has a lap better tyres, which in open air is a decent advantage to have. In a train it's a bit different, but in open air it's not a bad thing to have. And he has more energy. But we're going to send it anyway. We're not going to go down without giving it our absolute everything. So we're going to spend the remaining 4.5 laps of this race basically trying to make Jarno work as hard as possible for it. We knew we were at a bit of a disadvantage, but we wanted to try anyway. And you can see through this opening half of the lap, we have gained, I think, half a second, and we are using our energy. We want to apply the pressure.
25. 20 is using. 15. Splashing.
And you can see now we've actually forced Jarno to use the remaining energy that he had. But we got the gap down to 1.2 on the exit of the last corner, but he gained 4/10 down the straight. So now we've got to do it all again. And now we are going to have the rest of the race on board, uncut, to just follow this chase, because this was, I'm not going to lie, I loved this. I didn't like being P2 obviously, but because that's just natural, I'm a racer, but this chase was awesome. I mean, albeit I was at the disadvantage on the tyres, and I had it all to do. This is what I enjoy. We were on the hunt. It was a head-to-head dogfight, and I mean, I'm not gonna lie, I was thinking in my head during this, I was like, I love this. This is so good, because the heart was racing, the adrenaline's going. You can see the gap coming down and then yo-yoing back a bit as Jarno had a bit better top speed than us, and we all just had to keep draining our battery. You can just see our battery was absolutely flat at this point, and we kept closing the gap, and then he would open it on the streets, and you can see we are leaving no quarter left on the track limits. But this was so much fun to start pushing after him. Energy. I don't care how small. Tell me exactly the number.
4, 3,
Yep,
2.
perfect, thank you. That's all you can know. And you can just see Anton and I's communication. And sorry, we did have a little bit of a cut through sector 1 there, but the rest of the race is uncut, and you can see we are now down to 1.1 seconds. We are giving it everything, and this is why it was so enjoyable, because it was just a dogfight. Head to head, me trying to get the energy, not the energy, sorry, the DRS, Jarno trying to stop me doing so. And it was just quick in all the right areas of the track, because you can see I am now just outside the 1 second mark. I'm 1.03 on the exit of the corner, but as you can see, he just drives away on this final sector. We just don't have enough.
0.
You can hear me asking how many warnings Jarno had as well. But heading through the end of the lap, we are just giving it everything. There's no quarter being left. The gap is 1.1 heading into the last corner. We just need a little bit more. We need more laps, because he's just going to drive away from us. We are on 0%, and he just keeps driving away from us in this straight, in the straight line, and we have it all to do again and again and again. And heading into the first corner, the gap is 1.27. So we need to try and gain, we need to gain 3/10 in this middle sector, which is already hard enough to gain, 1 or 2, but now we need 3/10 to gain in this middle sector. Actually, no, we need to gain more because we lose it in the last sector when he gets the straight line speed. So we are giving it everything. We're pushing, trying on this last attempt to get the DRS, sending it in there. We actually didn't get a downshift into there, but we still managed to thankfully gain. The gap is 1.1. We have a few more corners where we're going to have the advantage, and we are just giving it everything. But there is only so much I can do with the tyres starting to drop a bit more at this end phase of the race. You know, this was such a dogfight, and I loved every second of it. Maybe not the last lap, which you're about to see, but this head-to-head stuff was what I really enjoyed. Albeit I was a bit annoyed with the fact that we were taken out of the fight and not really having a chance of winning because of, you know, the contact. I don't even know, like the tag that we got earlier. But the gap is 1.1, but we are flat on energy, and we just didn't have enough. We 1.1 on the exit. It's just so close yet so far. We are 0%. Nico was 0.56 of a second back on that last corner. But look at the straight line speed compared to me, just with having, just again, just being defenseless. It was, that was annoying, but there was absolutely nothing we could do to stop it. And I mean, I don't really mind too much because I was giving it everything to try and get P1. You know, for me in these league races, P2, P3, P4, it doesn't really make the difference for me as we get our second warning in this race, just trying to close up, and we're just leaving nothing on the table. Thomas Ronner with actually the freshest tyres of all of us, but with a time penalty, so Thomas isn't in this fight regardless of what happens in the rest of this race. But I mean, yeah, it was an extremely frustrating race as we, didn't really get the chance to fight for the win. Again, just leading on this game is almost like a curse at times. You can do everything right and it will still fall apart. You know, even though I think that was our 4th pole position in a row as well. But on this game, it is extremely unforgiving. But as we head through the final 2 corners of this race, our rear end starting to drop more and more. And you know, Nico with the DRS anyway, and Jarno, so we weren't going to get the gap down. As you can see, Thomas now just trying to outdrag us as we have absolutely no battery. It doesn't matter anyway as he has the 3-second time penalty, but it's going to be P3 in this race. And man, that was albeit an incredibly frustrating race because I felt like, again, we just didn't get the opportunity to fight for the win. I think we can leave that race with a lot of positives. Again, with the pace seeming very, very strong, both in quality and race trim. But yeah, that dogfight at the end, trying to overcome the gap, trying to overcome the slight tyre delta as well. Just with it was. I liked being up against it in a way. It's a weird because I knew I had it all to do, so I tried to pull something out. We were 1/10 shy of maybe making it work, but that's the margins. But we still managed to catch more than we lost. So overall, very, very satisfied with all of the positives. And I hope you guys enjoyed this race. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for the support recently on all of these videos. The channel support recently has been absolutely unbelievable, genuinely. So thank you so much for the continued support. And yeah, please leave a like, subscribe, comment your thoughts down below. I love reading your guys' comments after these races. There's always going to be a few bad ones, but you know, that's just the nature of things at times. But I love reading your guys' positive stuff down below, so please let me know what you think, and until next time, hope you're having a great day, and I'll see you guys next time. Love you all, take care everyone, and ciao.